Okay, so there was actually one boss conversation I forgot in this chapter, and I'm going to go ahead and show it now, hopefully. There we go. And that's all. So we now return to your regularly scheduled programming. Welcome back to Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. So yeah, it actually has been a while. I normally don't like talking about life stuff that came up during the live recording of the playthrough because it kind of dates the videos for people going back and watching the playlist later, or people who don't discover the game until later. I like these videos to serve as walkthroughs regardless of when people watch them. So that's why I avoid that, but I feel like I have to address this now. In between the previous part and this one, I was extremely sick, and it was a sickness that attacked my throat quite badly. I'm finally feeling a little bit better now, but if I'm not as loud in this video, it's because I still need to rest my voice a little bit. But anyway, last time we finally killed Valtome, good riddance, and Peleus joined the fight. This time, we've had one chapter as each party, so now it's time to cycle back to Team Micaiah and see what her next destination is.
The journey to the Tower of Guidance becomes more difficult as Ashura's disciples of order hound the travelers every step. Micaiah's ability to sense danger proves invaluable, as it gives her allies advance warning of attacks by the disciples. Thus prepared for each battle, the group keeps casualties to a minimum. As they travel south through Benyon, Micaiah and her company clash repeatedly with the disciples of order. Eventually, they pass through the central mountains and into the lonely wastelands of the vast Grand Desert. They are sustained only by their faith that they will reunite with their companions at the Tower of Guidance.
I think you can probably tell now why I recommended putting all your strongest flyers in this party. Yep, it's a desert chapter. The real desert chapter of this game. The ones back in Part 1 were just a warm-up. Oh no, not the Benyon capital. That can only mean bad news. Yep, it's these two again. Yeah, we're finally in Benyon. Soon it'll be time to end this. Yes, lead the army yourselves. That's good. Less work for us. In fact, it's a good thing that you lead the army yourself because we specifically need to kill you. Yeah, at this point, Lekaine's pretty much lost it. He's fully believed that he's the chosen one of the goddess when, in actuality, not really. You'll see. Well, at least one of the senators isn't completely unrepentantly evil. Unfortunately, it's only one of them. And this was the same desert that we met Tormod and Maureen in the first game. Meanwhile, more interactions between Micaiah and Sanaki. Now, I believe this conversation's a bit longer in the extended script, and there's a lot of kind of funny moments between these two in that version. The one translation that I read of the extended script version of this scene, though, it felt a little awkward to me, so I'll have to see if I can find the Japanese myself and maybe do a better translation. So, yeah, these moments with Sanaki, this might be part of where Micaiah gets her accusations of being a Mary Sue from, because being better than a canon character at that canon character's job and the canon character feeling envious of them for it is a pretty typical Mary Sue trait, admittedly. I've said this many times, I still feel like Micaiah doesn't dominate the plot nearly enough to be a Mary Sue. If she really was a Mary Sue, every single other character would only exist to be constantly singing her praises. And that's definitely not true of this game. So yes, Micaiah still has this ability. It didn't entirely come from Yune. We're getting close to the point where I can finally talk about why she has this power, but I can't quite say it yet. Also, it's not technically mind-reading, you just get a vague sense of their feelings. It actually reminds me a lot of Athena Sykes' abilities in Ace Attorney. That's kind of what I was alluding to before, and suddenly Yune. I love how Yune just kind of jump scares people like that. I like this exchange with Yune. She actually does get a lot of development. It's pretty cool. And I like this line too. It's just that whole idea that humans have got just such the wrong idea of the gods over the years. This universe follows I guess, the Greek pantheon kind of rule of gods, in that they all have flaws just as much as humans do. And like Yune says right here, when they make mistakes, it's on an even grander scale than humans. Also this, we'll find out exactly what this scene is a bit later on. I love this moment too, it's just Yune lets her emotions get out of control and suddenly there's a sandstorm. Yune, like, she's only in the game for part 4 and she's such a great character. It's just... I would say that I wish we got to see more of her, but I kind of feel like what we see of her is enough. It's kind of amazing that she has more development than the vast majority of the cast, despite having far less screen time. That says more about how little developed the rest of the cast is than how well she is, but still, I still really like Yune. She's easily one of my favorite characters in this game. This is kind of significant. Yeah, we might actually get to hear her speak in person. And that's kind of a terrifying thought. And on that note, base time. So, what do we got here? We've got a couple of 3-star conversations, so let's do this one. Yes, Bolganone, a tone that I get massively slowed down by using because my strength sucks. Cymbeline is pretty much all Sanaki really needs. That, and if you get her to an SS, maybe Rex Flame, but she needs a lot of strength to make using that worthwhile. Yeah, bring him up. Him and Zelgius. Yes, but, is that return a good thing or a bad thing? Of course, they're not petrified, we'll definitely see them. The question is, do we want to? Especially Zelgius. Normally I'd rebuke Sigoon here, but Sanaki is very, very fragile. She kind of has a point. And since this is a desert chapter, Sanaki can be useful a little bit here. And I still love this moment as well. Sanaki is actually fairly decent at finding treasure in this chapter, thanks to being unimpeded by the desert. Anyway, any dialogue within the Sala is good dialogue, so let's do this conversation. Soph hasn't even appeared in this chapter at all. I'm kind of surprised. Again, Micaiah has some pretty good comebacks. Yeah, clearly he's that giant air quotes brother thing that really means love interest. And yes, just like that. That's interesting. Has anyone pointed that out before? And given that Micaiah's branded, I guess we can put 2 and 2 together. I mean, it's not so much of a spoiler to be speculating on that. It's actually kind of obvious at this point what kind of branded Micaiah is. Micaiah's also being a shipper right now. That's very interesting too. Oh, yeah, and this is a 3-star conversation, so we have to awkwardly shoehorn getting an item in. Needing her to stay alive is actually part of what this tome is, because this is Nosferatu. And Nosferatu is an interesting tome, and Micaiah doesn't have enough of a light rank to use it. Yeah, I believe it's... yeah, it's S rank, so... oh boy, does she not have high enough of a light rank to use that. Part of why I have discipline on her, because I do want to get her to SS by endgame, but I think I probably am going to have to resort to arm scrolls for that. Anyway, Nosferatu is interesting in this game because it got a really big buff in the English version. In the Japanese version, I believe it had 65 hits. So, yeah, I guess they changed that because light magic is not known for being inaccurate, so makes sense. Now, as for items, Micaiah... I think her inventory is mostly fine. And in fact, I kind of... no, wait. I was gonna say I want her to have a full inventory, then I realized, yeah, because finding items is based on skill. A lot of previous guides said that finding treasure was based on luck. It's not, it's skill. And Micaiah's skill in this playthrough is not great, so yeah. Now, as for Soph... oh yeah, I swiped both those stars from that priest in the last Micaiah chapter. That's pretty funny. Do I have any other healers who could make use of those? I am going to be deploying Laura in this chapter, mainly because an extra healer is really useful, especially an extra restore staff user. What I am going to have her do, though, is equip that restore staff. That's going to be important. But Physic, yeah, Physic is going to be maybe helpful, once the enemy status users are gone, that is. Because I don't want her unequipping the restore staff at any point. Again, this will all make sense later. You have an extremely beaten up Silver Lance. I'll probably sell a ton of my one-use left weapons at the end of the game, but... do I have any better? I don't really want to spend that much of my gold. Does anybody here have a spare? I doubt anyone here has a spare Silver Lance. Well, you do, but I'd rather you use that. Do I have any silver swords? Actually, a Worm Slayer might not be a bad idea. We are going to be facing a lot of Wyvern Riders in this chapter. And... I don't particularly want a lot of weapons on Sigurd. I'm not really going to be using her that much here. So I might as well trade over her Silver Lance to Tanith and... I want to save that Killer Lance. Although at this point, killer weapons I find aren't really all that great because of their lower attack power. Guess maybe you could take that Killer Lance though. Because I am going to be deploying... well, in fact, I'm pretty sure Sigurd's a forced deployment here. And in fact, she might end up finding some treasure, so let me just... So one thing that I want to do in this chapter is I want to... I suppose Laura can... actually, no, I'll... wait a minute. Just realized something. Sorry, I'm going back on my word here, but I'm going to go ahead and put this physics staff in the convoy because the other parties don't really have physics staffs. And they might need them. I already have a physics staff on Micaiah here, so it's not too bad. Now, Soph, because he has the guaranteed chance of picking up items, I'm actually going to fill out Soft's inventory with items that I don't need. Because, and I'll explain this again when I get into the chapter in case people skip the base video, but if a character picks up treasure and has a full inventory, you get the option to send the treasure directly to the convoy, and because we had the interdimensional convoy, that means the other parties get instant access to the treasure. This is going to be very helpful for certain very, very important treasures in this chapter. Sanaki, okay, the chances of Sanaki picking up treasure are reasonably high too, so I'm going to stuff your inventory full of vulneraries. Masala's pretty likely as well, so maybe you can take some, just a bunch of extra random stuff. You know, pure water's not a bad idea in this chapter either, because we are going to be encountering some sleep starves. Har is fairly likely to be hit by sleep starves, but his inventory is full anyway, so I don't need to worry about, what about weapons though? Do I have any, definitely got some fresh hand axes. I think Jill's okay on items. In fact, one of you, and it's... Wait a minute, no, Mordecai is kind of more useful in this game, is a lot tankier than Leth is. Gonna give you an Olivia Grass. I want to keep my Laguz Stone on Scrimir, because he's going to be very useful for fighting this chapter. But I am going to deploy Mordecai here. And there is a reason for that. In fact, I should probably deploy Leth as well, because just to show off all the conversations. This is something that actually does require data transfer, though. If you don't have data transfer, you don't need to deploy these two in this chapter. Oh, do I have an extra Lagoon Stone? Maybe I should actually just do that. I mean, Nilucci's decent for this chapter as an extra flyer, but I mean, who needs him when you have Nisala? Okay, Edward. What's Edward? Let's get rid of that. Let's, I guess, replace that wind edge as well. I don't like that low-use killing edge. I guess I'll take one of those, and that should be mostly everything we need for items. But I will be messing around a little bit with skills. Also, let's go ahead and check the market. Not a very good bargain section. That's kind of the running theme with Part 4. There's not a lot in the way of good bargains. However, speaking of skills, Har, I believe, yes, he still has Nullify. Now I'm going to go ahead and take Nullify off of him and put it on Nisala, which will probably require me, yeah, I have to remove, yeah, definitely removing Maelstrom. Vantage is fairly useful, but Maelstrom's alright, but it's really the best thing I have to remove. I'm going to go ahead and give Nullify to Nisala, because this chap doesn't really have that much in the way of Thunder Mages, and even then Thunder Mages suck, so it's not like Har really needs to be protected from them. But this chapter has a lot of snipers and a lot of crossbows. They knew you'd be bringing a lot of flyers, and so bows and crossbows are some of the few things that can actually kill Nisala, so him having Nullify here really helps. Actually, thanks to someone in the comments for constantly reminding me to switch Nullify onto Nisala for this chapter. I'm really lucky that I just happened to put Har in this party, because Har still had that. Now, as for other skills, what skills do I have left to assign? Okay, I might want a Smiter in this chapter, and you know what? Let's go ahead and give that to Scrimir. Smite's always helpful, because it's a flat 2 movement shove that is unaffected by terrain, so helps get people moving in the desert. What else do I have? Pass, Nile, Blossom, Beastfoe. Beastfoe's not going to be useful. I'm going to have to keep Beastfoe in the convoy, though, because I will be needing this later. And I'll save Nile. Pass is not going to be that useful in this chapter. Oh, in fact, I don't think I've actually talked about this, because this is our first chapter since Soft Force promoted. Soft now has Bane. Weirdly, it has the same icon as Lethality from the last game, and even weirder is that in the Japanese version it actually had the same name as Lethality, despite not being an instant kill. So, not really sure why. The English version corrected that and actually had Lethality used to refer to the actual Lethality skill, which is in this game, by the way. We'll be seeing that later. But anyway, yeah, Bane is one of the weaker mastery skills in the game. If it activates on your first hit and you're doing more than 1 damage, it's basically an instant kill, so it's kind of nice. And One thing that I kind of like doing with Bane, it is admittedly very gimmicky and not at all like a hardcore strategy or anything like that, but it's a fun thing that I like doing. Combining Bane and Corrosion, or Disarm, but yeah, Bane and Corrosion I like. If they both activate at the same time, usually it means the enemy is down to 1 HP and doesn't have a weapon, which makes an easy experience for other characters, so I like to call that Sitting Duck attack. But again, I just stress, this is purely just a gimmick that's mostly for fun more than anything else, but does anyone here have Corrosion? I don't think so. In fact, I actually just had an idea. I'm not really going to be using the Iluchi, so I might as well take your Wrath, and Jill and Har often fight on low HP. Oh, sadly, you don't even have the capacity for Wrath Resolve. Har could take Wrath, though. That's not a bad idea. And, well, I suppose I'm not really using you, but I guess I could go for something. Actually, no, Pass is going to be more helpful in Chapter 4-4, not this. I think that's everything when it comes to skills, and any supports that I can increase. Can't raise Nasala and Leanne to a C yet. I really want to raise them to an A by the end of the game, but sadly no. Don't think anyone can... Well, you can raise your support, but Nephany isn't in the same party. Yeah, nothing to do in terms of supports. I mean, I could award some bonus... Actually, come to think of it... I think on average, I mean, this will be really bad for her weapon experience though, but I think on average, Micaiah will be getting better gains from bonus experience at this point, so... How much will that cost me? Quite a lot, but I kind of want her to be capped out by endgame. So she does have Paragon at the moment. But again, she does... You know what? Might as well cap her out now. It means I can give Paragon to someone else. Okay, good. Yeah, it might also raise her speed a little bit. I'm hoping for more speed on these levels. Not really getting a lot of it, it seems. But once she's hit the luck cap... But yeah, unlike people in Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn characters actually can reach 40 luck. Especially people like Micaiah, though it's probably one of the few things she has going for her. I didn't get nearly as much speed out of this as I wanted to. But, oh well. And yes, 40 luck. Again, it's not really like she has that much else going for her. I still don't know why the luck cap is 40 in Path of Radiance. No one can practically get there in that game. But anyway, that's done, and I'm gonna save the majority of the rest of my experience for Peleus. I don't really think there's anyone here who's... No one's capped stats yet, so I think I'm fine going for regular level ups. But, now that I've done that, no reason to keep Paragon and Micaiah anymore. So, who wants that? No, Edward's level's fine. Don't have any more. There are literally no more Master Seals in the game, so I can't promote Laura at all, other than by getting her to level 20, but don't think I'll be doing that. I suppose Tanith could take it. You're both level 7. Or Sanaki. I guess I might as well give it to Sanaki, because she is forced to endgame. She could use a few extra levels. Okay, with that done, I think it's time to move out. Let's go. Don't worry, I will be showing the treasure map next time. Also, hey Soth, this is your first line in this whole chapter. That's very atypical for a Micaiah chapter. Also, what's Leonardo doing there talking to Marsha and, also Marsha's weirdly frozen. Didn't realize how awkward her map model looked there. I think Leonardo actually did have a support with Leanne, like in unused content, so yeah, that's kind of funny. Yep, he's here. Unfortunately, this will not be our time to deal with him once and for all. Well, yeah, but as far as we know, she's still the firstborn of that line. Or not. Well, that's interesting. Wait a minute though, doesn't that technically make Sanaki heir by default? Lekane, I think you've just killed your own reasoning. He's just trying to get her riled up. And yes, who would you trust, the Senate or the Apostle? Just like that line back in part 3. Oh yes, that way of settling disputes. Because that totally ended well for everyone in Hamilton. Yes, I've seen that play now when I was in London, actually. So yeah, these lines about the Blood Pact, as you can probably tell, added in the English version. However, we will not be breaking the curse of the Blood Pact today. So I can just give you a sneak preview. Even though Lekane is on the map here, we're not actually gonna be defeating him once and for all in this one. So I'll see you next time for the Desert Chapter and Treasure Hunting.